further questions?
Well, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of confusion around this issue, but evidently the confusion, the state of Maine under current law is not confused about the preparation of CBD oil. I mean, you'd agree with that?
It's not confused. As far as we're concerned, you can.
It's not confused. You can't do it.
You can do it.
We'll do it. Why are we here?
Because when we applied.
Town of Oakland told us we can't do it.
Oakland said
Well,
that
it told you can't do it based on state law, which says it's classified the same as marijuana, no?
No, it doesn't.
It's not
I
classified.
didn't, one at a time.
Sure.
According to state law, it falls within the regulation where a town can prohibit the sale or manufacture of either CBD or marijuana, no?
Okay, so you're saying it's regulated under state law, and I would argue that it's not. You don't have, nobody has been told they can or cannot sell CBD. Where I'm just gonna say the distinction, I think the confusion here is your code enforcement officer has been given legal advice, just as I advise my client legal advice. So your code enforcement officer has been given legal advice from the Maine Municipal Association, which I adamantly disagree with. It's not-
So one of you is wrong.
Correct.
So how are we gonna find out?
What is the legislature taking out now that is trying to clarify this?
Yeah, I think that's just it. I think so one, that's why I said,
So the
so
legislature,
option one is you say, yes, I agree with you and your client, I will permit it, and if the Attorney General's office disagrees with Mr. Jarber, that's their role to come in. It's not the town's role to determine what the law is.
legislature now.
But the
wants to-
legislature has been presented with these very issues, and so there's an emergency preamble to redefine it, to make it clearer. I think they're just trying to give some more guidance.
Well, I agree with that, because right now, if what Mr. Java wants to do was not precluded by the town of Oakland's saying they don't want to do it, he could go ahead and do it. But he can't, or perhaps shouldn't, because of the confusion with state law.
No, that's correct.
Now, the emergency preamble that the state has, it just refers to the timing of when the bill starts. You understand that?
Correct, once it
You understand?
passes, yeah.
When it's passed and signed, as opposed to
Oh, we think
after this session is over, 90 days.
And I just
So
want to,
therefore, my suggestion, to make this all simple, is that the town do nothing. And you wait until the legislature changes it such that you feel comfortable that you can put the building in without being in violation of the law or the town's ordinance.
and so just a quick response. And that's perfectly okay. I would submit to you that one, we're already in this business and doing this business in another town. We want to expand. We can't expand here, we're going to expand elsewhere. And we're currently employing 10 people, and in our expansion, we intend to employ 30 people.
And if I now just want to
Understood.
address one thing that you mentioned is, you're still convoluting the definitions from hemp, crossing it over to.
How so?
Because you're applying CBD as marijuana extract, and we're saying the CBD that we're producing.
Why is the state in the business of passing new law that changes the way
It's,
the read?
it's actually to clarify the FDA's stance.
Because
All
either
states-
you or I are misunderstanding the law, right?
I guess if we go
One of
disagree.
us. You think
Yeah, one of us
it's
are,
me,
yeah,
I
right.
think it's you.
Yeah. Well,
Because I'm not down there
let me see
changing
if
the
I
law.
can draw a corollary.
Okay, go ahead.
So the state and the towns regulate the distribution and sale of alcohol. I have an establishment, I want to sell alcohol, I gotta come to you guys, get a permit to sell alcohol. I also have to have a state license to sell alcohol. I'm gonna open up a place and I'm gonna sell O'Doul's, which is 0.1% or less alcohol. By your corollary, that has 0.1% alcohol, therefore it comes under the alcohol regulations. This hemp has 0.3%.
Not by mine.
Well, I'm just trying to draw a corollary.
Well, this is
That's how the
a
process-
state law, not mine.
And we believe that there's.
Not ours.
Okay, I guess,
Well,
I would ask why you think that state law that CBD manufacturing is illegal?
Why do I think it's,
Why do you think it's illegal?
I don't think it's illegal. The state law is illegal. That's a.
You're saying the CBD
conundrum,
manufacturing,
isn't it?
no, but you're saying the CBD manufacture is not clarified that it's legal to do in the state of Maine, and we should wait for that clarification.
I think.
We're saying, we believe it's okay, and we're coming to the town council and saying, we'd like to set up shop here.
I understand.
How do we work with you guys? How do we work together? How do we work? I mean, you guys won't be doing anything illegal by allowing us to put this in, 'cause it's in, we can do it in Fairfield, we can do it in Waterville, they have it in Lewiston, they have it in Bangor, they have it all over, it's all over. So how do we work with you guys? We're just trying to get a permit. If the state wants to come to us and say it's illegal, then that, but how do we work with you? We just want to work with you. We're going to put a beautiful facility in. We spent $5 million in the facility. We ended up employing 30 people, well-paying jobs. We want to be part of the community, and we want to work with you guys, and the city has. I mean, everyone's been trying to help us. How do we work with you guys so we can get this permit? What do you think is the best way for us to do this?
So you believe that you need a permit versus CBD?
No, I just need a building permit. I don't need anything else. I just want a building permit to go up there and build my lab. And any ramifications from the state, I'm responsible for.
I'm not familiar with the rules about what permit you need to build a facility, or the regulations, or the fire control, or anything about that. We're just talking about the CBD part.
I know, but it's massive. To do it, it's massive, the regulations for the fire department and all of that. It's a C1, D1 facility. It's regulated by the state, the codes, fire protection, the air regulation. It's a mass, to build this laboratory, it's very, and we want to do that. But we're not asking for permission, we're just asking for a building permit to go up there and to deal with this. And
I don't, if your facility complied with all the rules and regulations to build a facility to manufacture beer or anything else, I don't know that we're doing anything to prevent that. You haven't submitted that.
You haven't submitted an application or...
that's because you and I work together.
Right, and you and I had this discussion as to why I had concerns about this, okay? But personally, the way I feel about this is, I do agree with the fact that this is all going to change. And all this stuff is going to be a moot point a few weeks down the road. We have a few people in the room who live up behind your proposed area that may have a few questions for you. But if there's no concerns, I certainly personally don't have an issue seeing this come into Oakland at this point in time.
I'm sorry, you don't have a concern with that?
If the council is comfortable with this, I don't have an issue with this facility coming into the town of Oakland at this point in time. I've met with the people who live behind the facility. They don't seem to be expressing too much of a concern with it. By the time you're up and going, hopefully these laws are going to be all hashed out. I did talk with Phil Saucia today, and Phil advised me that this is a state regulation. If they're in violation of the state laws, this is really none of our concern. I mean, it would be a penalty coming through the state. There's going to be a license that's going to have to be obtained, and if the license requires that there's an opt-in vote from the council, then that license won't be given out. So, and this stuff was all discovered today through my conversations with lawyers. So, given that, we certainly are going to see new business coming into town. It's going to have some employees that's going to come with it. This is the sign of the times, and that's my thoughts on this whole thing.
Further questions? Comment? Anybody in the audience wish to speak? Sir, could you tell us who you are?
My name's Dabney Lewis, Fieldstone Landing. And the only questions that we have is, we're interested, we'd like to know what the quantities of these materials are going to be on hand. What is the fire rating? What safety measures are involved to make sure we don't end up with a big, we call it a hay bale fire out there. That once the roof burns through, it goes everywhere.
John?
What's the quantities of material that you'll be having on site?
I mean, we're going to process every single day, so that, I mean,
the storage capacity of it could be 100,000 pounds. But we talked about that. That concern has never been, because all the other things we've been focusing our energy to is a laboratory, which is a C-WIN, which is a very, fire-resistant building. It's got 2.5-hour ratings on the walls and ceiling, the doors, so all of that. So what we talked about doing, because I talked to Gary about their concern in that, is in all the wood surfaces, and I've actually tried to come see the fire chief and talk to him about that. All the surfaces where we're gonna store this is to put metal cladding on this. It's not gonna, so all the fires would stay within, and so it's not gonna burn through the wood or burn through that. So everything that's exposed to the storage would have a fire rated to it above and beyond.
And one other thing, this material will come in those big super sacks. It's not gonna be just hay thrown in bales.
You
Okay,
can be
so
bringing
it's
in
gonna be
the
those,
round,
those big white,
the
those big
round
white.
tubs of mulched.
No,
Well, no, they're in the sacks. It's actually a
Sack.
bag. It's a nylon bag. It
Okay.
has straps. And so
The only
it-
thing I can do is associate it with the round bales of hay in that sack, but
well, the round bales, I mean, it's enclosed like that, but it's also ground material. It's very fine. It's not loose
so it is
stalks.
mulched.
It's
and
all mulched, yes, sir.
loose.
Yep. And separate bags, maybe, I don't know, 1,000 pounds a bag.
Yes.
And we would probably go through anywhere between 3 to 5 of those bags any particular day. John said we might have 100 of those bags on site at one time. That's a possibility. It's more likely that we'll have 10 or 15 on time, at the facility on time as we process
Well,
during the week.
I'm envisioning what they could fit on a trailer. if I'm ready to
20,
bring it to you.
roughly 20.
Are these, you're gonna be processing it, from what I understand, using ethanol?
That's correct.
Are the two materials gonna end up being stored together, or
No,
does it
oh, absolutely
require
not.
that to
There are
be
very
separate?
specific rules by NFPA 30, which is the uniform code for fire.
Okay.
And this is a class, as he said, it's a class 1 D2 compound, requires, you can only have 160 gallons in any one room at any particular time. You can't store more than that. We'll process, so in each room that we have, we'll have a separate, pathway, if you will, from one end of the facility to the other. So we'll never have thousands and thousands of gallons of alcohol.
Okay. My last question would be the subject you brought up tonight about the emergency preamble to add to the state law. Being an emergency, somebody mentioned 90 days. If it's an emergency bill,
it's immediate.
it's immediate. I understand.
Correct.
So there's no waiting period. I didn't hear when this preamble was going to be heard for approval.
We don't know yet.
You don't know.
It's a state, yes.
Right. The committee has today put it back to the legislature as it ought to pass, and then it's going to be a matter of when the legislature decides to take it up.
And one other thing about that preamble, that's really mostly driven by the people that have these retail products already on the shelves. There are a lot of people that are selling them, you can get them at, or used to be able to get them at, the gas stations, the vape pens and the tinctures. They were they weren't legal according to the FDA. The FDA set out a notice that anybody selling these food products, they're considered adulterated products, you can't put them into interstate commerce. What most states are doing is what Maine is doing, is they're taking the FDA's regulations.
I understood that.
Okay,
yeah.
so this doesn't really refer to the oil itself that we're making, the emergency legislation,
Well-
other than it does help clarify the distinction of CBD from hemp.
So if you started operation today
Yep.
and produced the oil
Yep,
in Oakland,
yep,
do I understand it correctly that you would then, until they change the definition, you have a marijuana project
Nope.
once it becomes oil?
nope.
That's what I understood him to
We
read.
don't-
I think that's
think-
what the confusion is, or the clarification that's gonna be
So
addressed.
the Maine, and again, people keep saying law, I just want to clarify.
Okay,
I think
so-
Maine law would allow us to do what we want to do now. The Maine Municipal Association, which is legal, it's like your town's attorneys have a different opinion than me. We haven't had a chance to argue with them in court yet.
That's all.
I don't want to
Which
go.
we don't want.
Right.
We
So-
I want, all those lawyers are bad people. I got a whole family of them.
So if there is a delay before you can turn on that spigot,
No, we're already doing
We
it.
don't believe so, sir.
We're already
You don't
doing
believe
it.
so, but Maine's attorneys say there is.
You're,
So that's gotta be, I guess, decided before the final decision is made.
they do it like we call.
My clients don't take my advice all the time. The town of Oakland doesn't have to pick
Well-
their attorney's advice.
Don't feel too bad, nobody takes mine.
Thank you. Moving on here, Dave
Thank you.
Savage is our code enforcement. Dave, could you rise and tell us your thoughts on this, please?
I
Thank you.
agree with most everything everyone said. Few differences, he hasn't been turned down on any permits, because he hasn't submitted anything for permits.
And I have,
So that, just to clarify that, he's not here as an appeal, he hasn't been turned down. My understanding of Title VII on the industrial hemp, it's for growing, it has nothing to do with a license for processing hemp afterwards. And again, that's my interpretation. The reason we're really here is we have two different attorneys telling us as soon as you extract the CBD, it goes into the medical marijuana laws. Have we been able to connect them dots? No, but we're not attorneys. Like this attorney said, I mean, it's their interpretation. Probably if he spoke to the two attorneys that we have, maybe they can come up with a solution. Are we against what is proposed? Not really. We are seeing the bills come out with legislation to make these changes. And I talked to Gary at length about this with a couple of attorneys. In other cities that are dealing with the same problems, they are permitting it. And they're saying it doesn't fall into the medical marijuana through their city's attorneys. It's a gray area. And again, he hasn't been turned down from here. It's more confusion that we're trying to clarify. In the laws we're reading, everyone interprets it differently. We're interpreting one way with our legal advice, and that's where we're at. And talking to Mr. Javara the other day with Gary, is we're moving in the direction to try to resolve the unknown questions at the local level before we just jump right in and say, let's do this. But are we objecting to it? Not really.